You're listening to the Mile You're In podcast. Everything running related from 100 meters to 100 miles. And now, here's your host, Phil Patterson Jr.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Mile You're In podcast. Today, I have another special guest on the show. Before we get into that, the quick announcements to my Patreon supporters, Mr. Anonymous, Becky from Miami, and Francine from Pembroke Pines. I thank you for your continued support each and every month. I think that's it for announcements. So we'll get right into the episode today. My guest is a local guest and someone I consider a friend just from the short time I've gotten to know her. Very wise, very knowledgeable, and I brought her on so she can share a lot of that with you guys. So welcome to the show, Dr. Patel.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you so much.
So before we get into what we were going to talk about, I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, everyone. I am Dr. Patel. I'm with the Spine and Wellness Center. I'm a chiropractor, and we in our office, we use a holistic approach to help our patients feel and do better. So we're not just all about pain. We're about function as well. So that's kind of what makes us special.
And how long have you been doing it?
Yeah, go ahead. So I'm just fresh into it. I'm about 6 months out post-grad, but I started working as soon as I got out. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm over here thinking you've been doing this for years.
No, it said literally 6 months.
Wow. Okay. All right. I learned something new today.
There you go.
So one of the things, since you, so do you deal with more athletes or just kind of like a combination of clients?
So actually, I work with a lot of athletes in our practice, but also family. So I'm open to both. It's actually kind of great because a lot of athletes, right? I'll start talking to them about their families and stuff. And also, regular families that have a spine, they get checked out too, just to help them function better throughout their daily lives.
Got it. So did you do sports as a child, or are you active these days?
So growing up, I was in and out of sports. I never really committed to anything specific, but like I played basketball, I did track a little bit. I did a little bit of flag football here and there, but my parents always like wanted me to focus on school more than anything. So I didn't really get into working out or anything until I got to college. But once I got into it, I was like, loved how it affected me and made me feel. And so then I was like, this is what like everybody needs, movement. And so that's where like my passion grew for that. And then, these days I used to be into the heavy lifting weight stuff, but now I'm just taking a step back and like just focusing on strength training and like making sure I preserve my body for the long term and not damaging it at this moment.
Got it. So since you mentioned track, and this is mostly about life and running, what did you do in track? Like what distances? So this was like back in middle school. I don't even remember. It's so blurry. I did high jump. Yeah. And then I did a short distance. I want to say 400. The shortest one. Is that the shortest one? What distance did you say?
Just where there's like one where you do the 2 laps around. That's it.
So the shortest, I think
half a mile.
It depends because there's, I think the shortest is 60 meters, but I don't see that at every event.
The quickest lap, Phil. It was the quickest lap. It's such a blur. I was like, my parents were so focused on just go to school, don't even worry about sports. So it was like, I wasn't even in it for that long. Like I got to try out and I was like interested in it. But they were just like so headstrong. I'm like, no, just focus on school. Sports doesn't matter right now.
Yeah, see, it's tricky.
But I wish I got more.
Go ahead.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like, in middle school, I think the tracks are shorter. So I'm not sure if they're 200 or 400, because typically the tracks are 400 meters, but I think in middle school they make them shorter. So that
so it might be different.
Yeah, you might have to go Google your middle school.
Yeah,
track.
I might have to. I'll return the answer to you.
We'll update that on the next episode. But
yeah.
So what really? I know your parents. You mentioned it. They kind of were pushing you sort of in the direction. What got you specifically into this career?
So I went to undergrad at FEU, Florida Atlantic University. So when I started, growing up, I always knew I wanted to do something in medicine. So that was always my focus, was medicine. And then starting at FEU, I was a pre-med major actually. And then I was in school, and then I had to take a lot of chemistry classes. And I was like, you know what? This is not for me. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I don't know. This is not it right now. So then I changed my major to exercise science and health promotion. And at the time, I was actually en route to become a physical therapist. And so I started shadowing PTs. And even then I was like, man, like, I really wish I could be passionate about this, but there's something more that's missing. And at the same time, I was going through some back pain. So the PT I was shadowing, he kind of was like, hey, you should go see a chiropractor. So I saw somebody. And then at the same, so that's kind of when I started doing my research on chiropractic. And then we had a recruiter actually come into our class and talk to us. And I was like, you know what? I think this is what I want to do. So after I got adjusted and I felt amazing, I was like, you know what? I'm so fascinated by the fact that I was helped by just using two hands. The man just adjusted me. That was it. He used his hands to heal me. So that's where my passion kind of grew. And then I applied, I got in, and then, the rest is here we are.
I got to admit, I am sort of addicted to watching videos on YouTube of looking for that pop.
Yeah, so a lot of that pop, I know that's kind of what we like to stay away from, though. I know it's the thing that people are into, but the pop is just gas leaving the joint. But yeah, it is. That's the most addicting thing that people, even I know I'm into it too. It's hard to not watch. It's like ASMR.
Exactly. Yes. And there's a guy, I can't remember his name. I think he's in Texas, but he does this thing where he wraps the towel around their jaw. So that's cervical decompression. That's actually spinal decompression. Yeah, so they put that around your occiput and your jaw, and then they'll decompress your entire spine. It actually does feel really good, but yeah, looks
it's a decompression technique. It's awesome. I don't like to use it just because I don't like the way I felt when I was decompressed like that. It's kind of rough a little bit, but it's all dependent on who does it to you.
Right. So what do you enjoy the most about what you do? Obviously making someone feel better, but is there certain moments or certain injuries, things like that you've dealt with? What is it that you really enjoy?
I think I have a few things for you, if you don't mind. First, just in general, one of the things we ask our patients is, what are your goals / hobbies, right? So what do you like to do for fun, or what are you trying to accomplish here? And it's been really fulfilling when you treat patients, and sometimes you're like, man, am I doing enough? Am I even helping them? Am I even making a change? But then they'll come back to you and they'll be like, today I was able to lift my kid, or today I was able to go work out for the first time in a long time. And I think that's the most fulfilling thing, is when they come back to you and they're like, you helped me do this thing that I wasn't able to do for a long time. And then secondly, working with athletes right now, just especially because I have a lot of young athletes, it's been really fulfilling, just kind of educating them on the importance of recovering, because I think yes, at at school and stuff, they have the athletic trainers and they have the coaches, but nobody really educates them on the importance of recovery. And so I've loved helping them educate and learn why it's so important to do that.
All right. So with that, I know we talked about this for a second. So you don't really have a famous client yet. So my question would be, if you could work on one person, one celebrity or athlete, who would it be? Who's somebody you would brag?
Okay, so I thought about this. Yeah. So growing up, I used to watch Orlando Magic play basketball a lot. And at the time, JJ Redick was like my favorite player ever. And yes, I don't watch him as much, but he's still like that childhood, favorite. So if I ever had the opportunity to treat him, that would be like the coolest thing ever.
Okay. Well, actually, I kind of teeter-tottered on, I was like an FSU/Duke fan. So growing up, JJ Redick was, I was a JJ Redick fan. So I can get that, because I was thinking about it the other day when I was running. I was like trying to guess who you were gonna say, because I've like at the running store, I didn't really help them. They kind of came in and just got what they wanted, but I've met like Wes Welker, Jeff Conine, Cameron Wake. You might not know who some of them are, but like they're professional athletes. Some that might make it to the Hall of Fame. I think one of them.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and like one of our.
Who did you think I was gonna say?
I don't know why. The first person that came in my mind was Rihanna. I don't know why.
Oh my god.
I feel like Rihanna or Beyonce.
We were sticking to just I thought we were sticking to athletes, but now that Rihanna would be pretty. Yeah, she's a queen.
Yeah, I wasn't sure, because then I was like, well, it could be a president, but maybe not like the current one. I don't know. He's kind of fragile.
Yeah. Aren't they all a little bit? Oh,
yeah,
man.
I think so. Because I even one of my coworkers found out at the end of the interaction that she actually helped The Rock's mom, which was very interesting.
Well, no way.
Yes.
That's so cool.
Like on the way out, I guess that got brought up. Maybe
came up.
Somehow. Maybe she was like, let me do this on the way out. Let me not start. So
wow.
I wanted to get into one of the things you like to talk about, because you did come to my store recently and talk to some guests that came to listen to you about the biomechanics of running. If you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're running, right, you're usually, yes, your hips are involved, but you're using your entire body when you're doing this. But I want to focus specifically on your hips, just because that's what a lot of runners deal with, is hip issues or hip dysfunction. So your hips obviously connect the top half of your body to the lower half, and they're supposed to function on themselves. So if your hips are not functioning the way they're supposed to, what happens is your low back starts to do the work for your hips, because that's all our body knows how to do, is compensate. So then your low back starts to take an effect. And then not only that, but then your knees and your ankles are affected, which obviously is important for you guys as runners. So all of that is a chain that's all connected. So everything is affected when your hips are not functioning the way they're supposed to. So yeah, that is what I like to look at, obviously, with runners. And then, of course, it's not just your spine, right? Luckily, we have muscles, ligaments, tendons attached. So I like to do a lot of muscle work as well, just to address the musculature, to make sure that your muscles are properly relaxed and not contracted all the time, so that the next time you're ready to run, you're rested and you're healed and you're ready to go again.
Well, I haven't had the chance to tell this to you, but the listeners found out about this, and like friends that I talk to daily. But about, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, it might have been a month ago already. It sounds worse than it was, but I was hit while I was running.
Oh my goodness!
And as I'm listening to you say that, I'm like, I am imagining my running, because each day it's gotten a little bit better. Like I didn't get adjusted or anything like that, but I got like kind of sideswiped on my right side, like right on my hip, and I could tell, like, as I was, like, when I walk, I'm fine, but it's when I'm running, I could feel like the hip and the knee just felt like they didn't feel fluid, like in motion. Each run, I notice it's getting better. So I've been doing a lot of stretching and
Bill, what are you doing? You need to come get checked out.
I know. I know. That's why I brought you on here
Oh,
so I can hold
man.
myself accountable. Like,
No,
we
absolutely.
need to-
But also, one important thing I failed to mention was your nervous system, right? So every single bone has a nerve that's correlated with it. So sometimes we subluxate. That's when there's a partial dislocation or misalignment, more so in your spine or even in your hips, and it can also happen in your joints. It can happen in any joint in your body. So when that nerve is pinched, right, you're not functioning. So what you just described to me, you got hit. Something may have happened, right? Something may have moved, and now there may be a nerve even pinched with what happened, and that's going to cause dysfunction in you. So your nervous system is not going to function properly until that nerve is released, and that pressure is released off that nerve.
Yeah, and that's why I think, although I didn't come in, but I think some of the
Yes.
stretching I noticed has helped, like especially like just stretching out my hip and like
Yep.
doing, I don't know what the pose is called. I do this stretch for my sciatica. That's also been helping that.
Okay. Yeah,
Just kind of opening up like my hips a little bit, because like I said, even
absolutely.
this morning I did 21 miles and it's starting to feel normal again. Like I think just the continual stretching and things are starting to get back to
Yeah,
normal.
so here's another thing I could tell you about since we're talking. So a lot of people, they wait till they're in pain, right, to do something.
Mhm.
That's the biggest thing for us. But
Guilty.
I think it's important that but it's important that not just you, everyone understands that pain comes and goes, right? Pain is just there to let us know, hey, something's going on. You may have it today, you may not have it tomorrow, but does that mean what's going on, the root of your issue, has been solved all of a sudden? No. So I think that's just why that's why I love what I do, because it's more than just pain. It's about just functioning, just making sure you are in alignment and just functioning the way you should be at all times.
Well, and I think that leads to the next thing that you talk about is the benefit of getting a gait analysis. So even if we're kind of like
Yes.
the initial, maybe if you're a beginner or you've been doing it for a while, a lot of people, we just like I did it, we just jump right into it. You buy a pair of shoes and you just like you run through pains and then you keep changing shoes or all these. What we don't realize is like you're saying about it being in alignment and things like that. So what is explain the benefit of explain what a gait analysis is and the benefit of it.
So if you look at the bottom of your foot, you actually have 3 arches. People usually just know about the one right in the middle, but there's actually 3 arches. So the arches are supposed to be there on purpose, right? That's actually how you're supposed to look anatomically. So sometimes when we go and we buy shoes, we're just looking for, sometimes stylish, sometimes like, let's say running, you're just looking, okay, for comfort, but we're not really paying attention to the arch support. And so when we buy these shoes, what happens is that we start to lose that arch. So we can either go flat-footed or we start to get a high arch. Let's say if you're wearing high heels a lot or all the time, and then you start to rely on the outside of your foot. So if you can imagine now, the foot curving in or out is then going to affect your hips, right? So that's going to affect the rotation of your hips, but then it's also going to affect your knees and your hips as well, because everything is connected. But if the arch of your foot is dropped, or if you have too high of an arch, do you see how that all is connected and how it could lead to misalignment?
Got it.
Because you're not using the correct part of the foot that you're supposed to. So that's why getting a gait analysis is beneficial, because then you can actually look to see how much weight you're putting on either side of your foot.
And for me, I noticed, I've always, what's for people that don't know the terms, I supinate a lot, especially if you look at the wear on my shoes, it's always to the outsides of the shoes. So I never even thought about like the need of an arch support, because I have a very high arch. I supinate to the outside. But I learned as I do these longer distances, my arch starts to collapse a little bit and I start to pronate a little bit. And it's gotten to the point where I started developing like a slight case of plantar fasciitis in my left foot. So ever since I put in the inserts and I stopped walking around the house barefoot and I got my little arch support sandals, I can feel the difference. So yeah, that's, so is that
and then also when you're
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You speak.
Oh, I was saying, like, when you were talking to me about your arch, or like, right, you have a really high arch to begin with, and then it kind of drops. If you noticed, if you just exaggerate it right now on yourself, you'll notice like this musculature on one side now is super contracted, and then when you drop it, the other side is super contracted now. So that affects your muscles as well.
Yeah, and then like something I notice even just from what I do at the store is what I experience where you start to compensate. If you're not,
yes,
if you start, especially like if you start feeling a pain, you start to maybe lean on one side versus the other to try to avoid compensate that pain. Right.
Absolutely.
And then you cause new issues. So one thing I like is the couple times you've come into the store, you can even just look at people sometimes, or as you're stretching them, you can notice certain things, and you've kind of called out to them, hey, I think this is going on, or that's going on, and you could offer some advice and suggestions. How was that like? Is that just something you learn over time? Is that like?
I have the answer for you. So actually though, like the first quarter, so my school that I was at Palmer, or it was a quarterly based, it wasn't semester. So literally the first quarter, for like day 2 or 3, you stand up, you partner up, and somebody looks at you from the side, somebody looks at you from the back. We literally from day 1 analyze our classmates. So it is instilled in us to know I can just look at anybody, and like in my brain I'm like already fixing them. I'm like, your neck needs to be back, your shoulders need to come back. It's literally, they instill it just because I help with posture correcting as well. But when you see it so many times and you know what normal is and then not normal, it's like second nature.
Got it. Well, that's why I was asking, because even like I've had people at the store before they even take their shoes off and they step on our little mat that shows the pressure points and arch and all that stuff. So I can typically look at someone's ankles and the inside arch area of their shoes and tell if they're pronating or if they have a flatter foot. Like I can usually tell even before they take their shoe off, and sometimes I'll call it out, and then they're like, "Oh my God, how did you know? Like how did?" So I was curious if it was the same thing, or if it's something more that you get from the stretching.
But that's definitely one of it. That's definitely one aspect too. So whenever like I have the patient supine, right, I'll do a leg check so I can see by the heels of their foot too. Just so in terms of that as well, because when they're laying, you can see like, when one side's worn out more than the other, kind of how the person's leaning.
Got it. So another thing,
another
topic that you touched on is quality of life. So I know that can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. When you talk about it, what does it mean to you, and what is it that you speak on in that sense? Okay,
so a little bit of this I kind of already said to you. So going back to pain, right? Like a lot of times we don't really do anything till we're in pain. But why don't we just take care of ourselves when we're not in pain, right? Because then if we are taking care of ourselves all the time, then we shouldn't be in pain, or we should be continuing to prevent injuries for ourselves. We're continuing to prevent illnesses, future illnesses, because we're taking care of ourselves every single day. So that's why we're all about not necessarily pain. It's about function, because you want to have a better quality of life for the rest of your life. It's more so thinking for the future, right? What kind of quality of life is this? Is this the type of the state you are in right now, right? You just keep pushing it off, it'll go away. Is that the type of quality of life you want to have for the rest of your life? So that's what that means to me. Long-term thinking.
Got it. And I kind of wanted to have it answered in that sense, because, my listeners, what I try to do is tie in like the sports and life. And I think that was what I was aiming for, is that exactly what you just said.
For you guys, right, for running, you want to continue. That's exactly what I encourage. I want you guys to continue to run for the rest of your life. So make sure you're taking care of yourself, every step of the way, so that you can continue to do this thing that you love.
And again, when you tie that into life, it's what you said, like, is this what you want for the rest of your life? Like, you have to think about the future. So I always like to tie that in, like when I'm always trying to encourage people, you know, you have to look at the state you're in, not just athletically, but you know, your job or
even mentally. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. There's so many areas of our life that we're, you know, I joke around with my coworker, and you know, sometimes we, you know, the new restaurant opened up next door, and we're going over there spending a lot of money, and it's like, you know, we could be saving money here if we you know,
right,
be a little smarter with our spending. We don't want to, you know, so it quality of life can be improved in so many areas, and that's why I just wanted to tie
absolutely
that in. So for I know a good amount of my listeners are local. There's a lot that are not local, but for the local ones that would like to possibly come and see you, where can they find you locally? And then for my non-local listeners, where could they possibly find you on social media?
Okay, so for your local listeners, I'm with the Spine and Wellness Center, so you can either log on to our website, tswac.com, and you can click on the link there and then fill out paper or like send in a questionnaire, or if you would like, you can call the office. So that's 954-256-3341, and we can get you set up for an appointment. And then you come in, and then it's a complimentary consultation. So we'll sit down and talk, and then we can go from there, and you can see if you're interested in what I do. You can stay, and if not, that gave you an opportunity to come in and see what I'm about. And then for those of you that are not local, I'm on Instagram at Dr. Patel Chiro. So that's where you can find me.
And I'll put those links in the show notes for you guys as well. Or occasionally she does come out. So for the local listeners, she has come out to our run clubs on Thursday nights. So if you're following me, I could post that whenever she's coming, and you could also, she's come out and stretched. Sometimes they've had someone doing massage gun. So
yep, and some future talks as well. So yeah, I'll let Phil know, so Phil will keep everyone updated. Absolutely.
Well, I thank you for taking the time out. I know, like me, this is one of our days off, so I don't want to hold you too long and let you enjoy the rest of your day.
You're good.
I appreciate you coming on and just sharing your knowledge, and I appreciate what you do. And if there's anything you want to add before we go.
No, I just want to thank you for this opportunity, and yeah, it's been awesome working with you. I've been loving what I've been doing. That's all. It's just, I think one of the biggest things growing up was like my parents hated what they used to do. Obviously, they did it to keep a roof over their head. So finding something that I was really passionate about was really important to me. So I'm so blessed and thankful that I'm able to do something I love. So yeah, thank you for giving me this opportunity, Phil. I love it. Thank you.
Of course. And maybe what I can try to do is on Halloween, I can dress up as JJ Redick, and I can come for a visit. So you could say you worked on JJ Redick.
That would be awesome. That would be okay. I'd be down for that.
I'd have to shave the beard though, because
nobody would know.
Well,
that's all you would have to get rid of is your beard.
Yeah. So guys, until the next episode, think about your quality of life. If you are, well, actually, even if you're not very active physically, but just in general, like she said, think about like the long-term physical abilities in your life and your daily activities, to get yourself checked out and make sure everything's okay. And yeah, until the next episode, just focus on those things, and we'll see you then.
Thanks for listening to the Mile You're In podcast. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like, share, and subscribe.